Okay, so thanks everyone for joining. So we have a very interesting topic, right? CX and AI, surfing the SaaS wave to success. That sounds very interesting. Before we get into the questions, I think it's great if we all introduce ourselves a little bit and talk about our personal journeys in terms of getting here and how it's connected to AI. So I'll probably quickly introduce myself, and then I'll request all other panelists to introduce themselves as well. And maybe we should also start with a small icebreaker, right? So I would ask all of them to answer a question like, if there is one item that they would want to, like, from their daily work, if there's one thing that they would want to take off and just let AI do it, what would that be? And hopefully our audience gives a good response for the nicest answer they hear or the most innovative answer they hear. So I'll start with myself. My name is Robin. I primarily started with enterprises. I started with Siemens, and then I went to Cisco, was in Siemens for about 8 years, went to Cisco, and at this point of time, another 7 years in Cisco, and I said, I'm done with corporates. I wanted to go into the wonderful world of startups, started an AI company. On fintech, it was mostly using AI for credit scoring, sold that company in 2018. And then went and joined a scale-up, a unicorn called VFox as the Chief Data Analytics Officer. Stepped out, created another AI company, this time using AI for investment banking, mainly for asset management. I sold it, and now I'm on my third company. It's a B2B software as a service company, primarily using AI for coaching or democratizing coaching for employees. So this is what I do, and Krish and I work together on a few projects and a few companies actually. And now to answer the icebreaker myself, I would really like an AI to handle meetings for me, so that I can actually do the work, whereas AI takes care of the meetings. Now, obviously, we do have some stuff like Otter or Fireflies or something like that, which can take meeting notes, but something that can actually attend the meetings and then alert me when there is a question to respond to. That'll be amazing. Maybe a little bit unethical, but that'll be amazing. But with that, now, Darja, I can request you to go next.
First, hi, I'm Darja. I'm working as a founding go-to-market lead at Along. I've been in the industry for about 8 years now, and I think I started to use AI in one of my first companies at Stuffbase, where we used it to write better or make more internal communication more easier and more efficient, also for people who are not from the industry. And then in another company, they made an AI assistant for manufacturing, so not for blue collar, not for white collar workers, where the most system was built off, as for blue collar, so all the people who work manufacturing. And now at Along, we're using AI to first analyze a customer's behavior, a prospect's behavior, but of course also in the engineering team, just to be more efficient. And to answer the icebreaker question, so for me, I would honestly replace all household work with AI, with a robot, or all admin tasks, repetitive tasks, to shift my focus whole to the customer, to the prospect, because that's what stresses me more. Yeah.
I love the household work part. I would have less stress at home for sure. Sunil, maybe we could hear from the sales angle.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So don't need to use this one. So my name is Sunil Dutt. I think most of you already saw my piece, my section on DevRev. So I work at a company called DevRev. I'm part of the founding team for Aemal, together with my dear friend Martijn here. Been in the industry now for 20 years. And from AI from a CX perspective, I've been on the other end of the table for a very long time, where we were actually a SaaS, B2B SaaS company, trying to create a great experience for customers. And as we were growing the company, we made a ton of mistakes in terms of processes, technology choices, etc. And we learned a lot from it as well. So it's quite refreshing now to be on the other side, where we're actually trying to offer solutions for companies as ourselves back then that are actually on that same trajectory towards growth, adding people to the company, adding resources, defining processes, refining your products and your solutions, etc., etc. So To answer the question that you asked, what could I have AI do for me? Apart from making sure that anything that is a mundane and repetitive task can be just taken out of my way. But one thing that would be so super lovely, and maybe this is, by the way, a great business idea, I'm not sure if it is, but if there would be an AI agent that could just scan my calendar and every time it would see a restaurant, it would just make a booking. That's it.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I'm copywriting this now.
All right, Jens, we'll come to you.
Yeah, I'm Jens. Nice to meet you. I'm the founder of a company called Graph API, which is started out as a backend as a service platform, but we moved more into like process flow automation as well. And actually, it seems we have a lot of it in common. We just realized we live in the same street in Berlin. But also, I started in the corporate world. I also worked at Siemens for some time, and a company in the semiconductor space as well for 8 years. And then I moved to Berlin and wanted to start my own company. I did this with like 3 Swedish guys, a company called Vamos, which was an event discovery platform, which got acquired by another company where I built up the tech team as a CTO. And yeah, at some point in time, I just felt like we are repeating ourselves. We always build stuff up from scratch. Can we not just automate this whole thing? And that's how I started at Graph API. For me, when it comes to the icebreaker question, the biggest thing that I want to automate fully end-to-end is bookkeeping.
Yes.
Because I don't like this at all, but I still have to do it partially. And because we're a very small bootstrap company, so that's why a lot of times I have to do this stuff myself, and I don't want to do it.
I guess every founder in Berlin would have that problem. In Germany, I guess, yeah.
Yes.
With you,
Especially in Germany.
Especially.
Aemal, last but not the least.
Sure, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Aemal. I'm a tech entrepreneur. I've been building companies for the past 16 years, 5 in total, 2 of them agencies, 3 of them startups. I was a part of a scale-up, $300 million scale-up out of London. And this was a logistic company. Right after that, I did an AI agent in 2023 and 24. And I'm now combining both of those knowledge, like from logistics and from AI agent development. Being an AI engineer myself, it makes sense that I focus on one area. I'm building AI agents for SMEs in Germany, especially in bookkeeping area, because that is the most promising thing that AI agents will deliver value immediately. I'm focusing only on bookkeeping, only on logistics companies, but also I'm open for consulting other companies. And to answer the ice-breaking question, I'm not wishing for it. I'm building it in public on my YouTube channel. I am building an AI agent that actually does my bookkeeping in Dativ. So it is automatically uploading invoices and reconciling it and so on. And literally yesterday I released a video of a demo of this thing that it works. It uploads like multiple invoices autonomously, and at least it's the first beta version. It works, but happy to have a chat about that if you can.
It cannot be a coincidence that we just sit next to each other.
Absolutely, yeah.
We need to talk about my idea.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Now that Jens is taken care of, maybe you can start with what Sunil has, and then come to Darja, and then me.
Absolutely.
I can do the sales for you.
That's the only thing I need help for. Like when it comes to coding, it's me. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we'll get to the topic at hand, which is about CX and AI, right? And how that's going to make the SaaS experience completely different. So Jens, maybe I'll start with you as the founder of Graph API. You're very close to the tech stack, right? From your experience, what are the trends that you're seeing? How do you feel this whole CX customer experience change in the new paradigm of AI?
Yeah, I mean, it started out with, I remember like the first, we did a chatbot, which was a sommelier bot, a wine bot basically, it gives wine recommendations. We did this like 7 years ago, using TensorFlow and like all these things. Things were really complicated then compared to what we can do today. So, but it's a lot about like, it started out with chatbots, hyper personalization, Then we go into process flow automation, which is AI-based or AI-assisted. But I think the future will be also going more from single-purpose to multi-purpose. And I think we will see a lot more like AI-first companies, because a lot of times, like what we see at the moment, that existing platforms try to kind of shoehorn in like some sort of like AI experience so that they can say like, oh, we also do AI. But I think the model will be more towards agents, digital workforce, that you basically now have to manage multiple digital workers, but they have to work basically in tandem, complementary with the human workers. And then the question is like, who manages them? Is it like now the IT department that manages them, or is it the managers that manage them and how they work together? Who can basically teach them? These are all things which I find quite interesting. So I guess the future will be agentic. Everyone at least promotes it and says it. I think you make a lot of videos about this as well, right? Building agents. So it's going to be interesting. But I'm still interested to see like how does the future customer experience change when really people start to build an AI first experience.
Thank you. And that's a very nice segue to the next question. Aemal, to you, you're a pioneer. Last time we came, I remember the June conversation when we talked a lot about VoiceKit and what you were working in terms of the advanced voice interfaces. Now you're building a lot of agents, and agents is kind of like the 2025 topic, right? Everyone is talking about agents. So what's your perspective on this? What are the trends when it comes to customer experience and SaaS?
In order to answer that, I would like to kind of like give a little bit more context to VoiceKit for the audience to understand what we are talking about. We started in January 2023 and went through the Techstars Acceleration Program and built this product, which is a voice AI agent, basically understands your intent, connected to your Salesforce, connected to your Microsoft 365. And we were selling it to field sales, people who go door to door and sell something, a physical product. And in Germany, at least on Autobahn, they spend like literally their life. They spend 6 hours driving from client to client, and that time is not utilized at all. And our software was there to basically allow them to access their CRM, not only for documenting the meetings that they just had, but also kind of like pulling information from CRM as and when they go and meet a Maximilian, they say, hey, VoiceKit, can you please remind me what was the last meeting I had with Maximilian? All hands-free, eyes on the road, just like you have a call through the sound system of the car. So that was by itself, by its nature, an AI agent. The terminology itself is just kind of like a new vibe nowadays, but we were already building that, and we are building it in a year where ChatGPT is like a couple of months old. And I remember those times when I started building it. I'm also the CEO of this company and also the CTO. We didn't have a CTO, and I was also coding from night time. And then I say, hey, VoiceKit, 9 seconds later, it says, yes, how can I help you? And then we work a lot to make it like 500 milliseconds. That's a long story. But nowadays, everything is so easy. Like when it comes to AI agents, I had a workshop on Saturday, like literally 2 days ago. We built an AI agent like VoiceKit, not in 1.5 years, in like 3 hours. So right now, it's the best time to build AI agents, and I think the trend is just started. It's just the time that will tell that everybody should have their own AI agent, not one, but multiple. It's just the start of the year.
It's amazing times. That's a question? Go ahead, please.
Exactly.
Sure.
What do you think about the tools like Aemal, where you can build the AI agent probably within 3-4 hours? 5
Yes.
hours, you think like skyrocket? Then
Yes.
you use the widespread of AI agents through this kind of automation flows where you're allowed building the RAG, vector database, fine vector, right? And just automate the flow and then probably connect this backend to the front end where nothing is just connecting the dots, but you build the backend on this Aemal or other tools.
Yes, exactly. Like N8N is a Berlin-based startup. Yeah. I like the founder. He brought forward the concept of so-called fair source. People say N8N is an open source project, but it's a fair source project, totally different concept. And the day before yesterday, on Saturday, we had this long workshop for 4 hours. It was supposed to be 3, but we extended it to 4 hours. We were using actually N8N. And all the participants, around 18 of them, were non-technical. So it's already on my YouTube channel. You can check it.
Please next time invite me.
The next one is on 15th of March. I'm sorry, I'm shamelessly promoting my next workshop. Yeah, so N8N, just for the context, it is nowadays building an AI agent is literally drag and drop thing. Like you have IDs where you can build your own AI agent, not just one N8N, but Relevance AI and Agent AI and so on. There are a lot of platforms like that.
Crew.ai. I'm an N8N customer as well. But let's move forward. And it's quite interesting that we have just engineers on one side.
Did you guys plan this?
This is not planned, but I would like to hear a sales view of this, right? So it's all great that we're talking about technology is great and everything. Let's go to show me the money part, right? So does it help? I mean, in the end, what are the new nuances in AI really helping us with? Is it helping us to gain more customers? Is it helping us to retain them? What exactly do you see?
Well, I would say all of the above, right? One of the things is that it's making sure that, like Martijn also mentioned, that people, your best people are focused on the most difficult problems. So the moment that you can actually create a operational efficiency across your entire organization, that's going to save you a ton of money. I mean, it's a simple math, right? How much time are people spending on repetitive tasks, on looking for information that they need to be able to do something? And that can take days, sometimes even maybe up to a week. So if you can reduce the time to seconds because you have an AI agent that never sleeps, never eats, is always available to help you out, it's a huge, huge cost saver from that perspective. And also if you look at how do you develop your products, we firmly believe in that product-led growth, making sure that you develop things that actually make sense for your customers. And typically what you often see with organizations is that you develop based on the vision of your company, which is good, which is great. But at the same time, you also need to keep in mind that does the product actually resonate with what your customer needs? And that's something that AI can very easily discover for you. Right? Customers provide feedback, but that feedback is always hidden in a tool that developers are not using, are not accessing. So how do you make sure that an AI agent gathers that information, translates it, packages it in a way that a developer knows, hey, this is actually something that allows me to either proactively engineer away problems in the product, which results in less churn and less pressure on your product support teams, increase customer experience. But that in itself can also become a sellable product or feature, right? So how do you translate that? How do you help your sales teams that are in the field, going door to door, like you just mentioned, to actually know that they might have an upsell opportunity at a customer without having to rely on somebody telling them, but have the system do it on their behalf.
Yeah.
And so the answer is literally all of the above.
Amazing. And let's move. It's great that you talked about customer experience. So I want to focus a little bit on that, right? So Darja, maybe the question to you, in terms of customer experience, right? How do you really see the trend in terms of customer experience as as leading the partner channel in Along, and in your general experience, how much of a difference is this to the customer, and what do they expect in the age of AI?
So what I see, or what I saw like in the last years, that as you also said, that repetitive tasks were not like giving like impacting the customer satisfaction. This you really can replace like with an AI. Also, it kind of like made like all the customer behavior way more transparent. So you kind of like offer targeted products, target maybe like also like discovery questions, upsell opportunity, because like when we look at the reality, or like a daily often sales rep or a CS rep, they have like a lot of accounts to juggle. So every customer is different, and not every rep has a process. Maybe they also have like a different experience. Maybe one is like for 5 years. Maybe once someone started like as a junior, but the customer they expect like to have the same treatment. That's what AI can do.
That's amazing. I can't name the company, but I have this company that I worked before as a consultant, and we were providing some services, and this is exactly what you said in terms of upsell opportunities. What we have figured out was that even 100 milliseconds delay in terms of providing the support agents with an insight related to the customer could be up to a 1.2% drop in terms of upsell opportunities. It's just crazy how the expectations from the customers also change when it comes to this whole new world of AI. So thank you. That's a great answer. Let's move on to so it's great, right? So we know that this is great. It's great for the customer. It's a great technology. Technology is changing rapidly. It's good for retaining customers and getting revenues. But now let's talk about the challenges, right? So while all of these things are great, we still know that the implementation of AI, especially generative AI, is not as much as we want it to be, or we don't have that many success stories. So maybe let me start with also the challenges. What are the challenges that we see? So Aemal, maybe as a let's start from the tech side, right? So I can immediately start thinking about things like data challenges or privacy challenges and stuff like that. But maybe there could be other things. So where do you think the challenges are?
I think the number one challenge would be regulation. EU AI Act, GDPR would be the two big hurdles that any organization who want to adopt AI agents would have to deal with. For example, what the very first or the second pillar of EU AI Act is that you're not allowed to screen people individually, score them, be it through a facial recognition or be it through biodata. And that blocks, even the example on EU AI Act report is an example of a CV screening for a job portal. So that eliminates a lot of potential applications. I'm currently consulting a client where they're building an AI agent for founder screening. And this is also kind of like in a gray area, although it's not that they have applied, it's kind of like the outbound approach. So in my opinion, it's not a technical problem that a lot of companies will face, because off the shelf, there are a lot of in the open source space, there are a lot of projects like DeepSeek R1 and Llama. They could literally self-host it and have everything, all the check marks done when it comes to GDPR side of things, and especially the data stays in the soil of Germany, it's in data centers in Frankfurt. But the main question comes to the EU AI Act, that it does not allow you to, it prevents you basically to implement such a system that scores people. And I think it's a legal question, not so much a technical question.
True. I have a follow-up question on that. So most recently, I think last week, there was this great company that fundraised called Mercor. I don't know if you had a chance to hear about it. It's a US-based company based in New York, and they have so far in like a year, they have like 70 million in ARR, and they raised 100 million at a 2 billion valuation, right? So amazing for a company of that size. What they're doing is exactly what you said. So they're actually scanning resumes, and they are saying to the companies that this person will match your profile. And they're also doing the voice calls. They're doing the first round of interviews, and then they're matching the job to the resume and the person. This is something that's never possible, or currently we find it very challenging to implement in Europe, for example. Do you feel like the EU AI Act or the regulations is actually going to be very challenging to founders and to entrepreneurship in general in EU?
That's absolutely right. I mean, I lost a substantial amount of my own savings in my last startup. After like 6 months of dealing with this emotionally, I'm still touched with this. This was only regulation. Like I was fundraising in October of 2023. All of this VCs in the town were talking about August 2024, there will be EU AI Act, and you can't do this, it's that and that. And then I literally ran out of runway and we had to liquidate the company. So I think the big challenge right now is the legal, and it is kind of like shrinking the startup system in Germany, especially in Berlin already. The number of startups founded as per the data source from Crunchbase in 2021, 600, in 2023, 100. So there's like a 6-fold shrinkage of number of startups founded in Berlin. And it's happening, it just keeps going on and on. It's a sad story, but we have to deal with it. And I'm positively looking at this because whenever there's a problem, there's a challenge for an entrepreneur, that's a fertile land. We need to put some seeds there and grow up from there.
100% agreed. And there is definitely some positive momentum. At least I saw the Paris AI Summit as a very positive step towards Europe accepting the fact that we should make a stake in this ground, right? So hopefully a lot of things will change. Yes, there's a question.
I have a question with respect to the industrial regulation, because you mentioned regarding the EU Act. Because I work for a neobank, and we have to be like strictly compliant with all the regulations happening here with respect to privacy, because we also have a KYC process check and everything. So would you say that this is kind of limited to a specific industry, or is it like general across like Germany? Let's just say Germany, for instance. So with respect to the AI capabilities, is very restrictive to a particular industry. It's just SaaS, or would you say maybe some thoughts on that?
That's a very good question. Just to paraphrase and make sure I understand the question, you work in a bank.
I work for a neobank.
Neobank.
It's like Revolut or enthusiast. It's a Dutch neobank.
Got it.
So we do have AI applications in place wherein we use it for customer support, so on and so forth.
Understood.
But my question here is, since you mentioned about the EU Act and its limitations here, so it's specific to a particular industry, because since we're talking about SaaS and customer experience, do you think this filtering process that you mentioned, so few industries have this, or is it like, would you say that for all industries it's going to be?
Understood. Like I also worked or consulted a bank called Klarna, and they are one of the pioneers when it comes to AI implementation. Like literally their customer experience replaced their entire like first mile customer support in a way that in a day they closed down, I think, 3.2 million tickets, which was equivalent to having 700 full-time employees, but they're just one AI agent that did that for them. And even OpenAI covered them on like one of their featured articles. So it is to the EU level. To answer your question, the challenge is EU AI Act. It applies to all the companies who are applying AI in their products in EU. For example, Apple could not bring Apple Intelligence and iPhone 16 in Europe only because of EU AI Act. Because in that you have like facial recognition, and that goes through an LLM, and especially for the transparency or the explainability aspect of EU AI Act. So all of those little aspects of this legal framework bounds companies to not step in a position when they could be fined like 35 million euros or more, only because they did something that is against the act. So in my opinion, starting AI agent implementation for companies in the areas where it does not even touch the act is a smart way to do. Therefore, I think bookkeeping is your own data. You're basically owning it in your own servers, especially if you go and build AI agents that are self-hosted, that has a local LLM that runs on your own cloud, and all the invoices and everything is in your own system. I think this is the low-hanging fruit when it comes to AI adoption for companies.
So there are two angles to consider. The first is in terms of the risk, in terms of the decision that you're taking. So there is high risk versus low risk. And this is across industry, right? So for example, if you're using AI for something like analyzing the customer insight, it may not be a big deal, but you're using AI to decide whether somebody's getting a mortgage or not, that's a high risk, right? So that's one way that EU AI Act differentiates as something like high risk, and then you'll have to do a lot of hoops and hulas to implement that. The other side is that banking is a highly regulated industry. So unfortunately, you are in a tough place there, right?
So it's highly complex. That's why I wanted to clarify once.
Sure. So let's move forward. Let's actually talk a little bit about the future. So one of the things I wanted to ask you, Sunil, is let's talk about the next few years, right? How do you see the future evolving when it comes to the customer experience, AI, and software as a service?
Sure. I mean, if you look at what we're doing today with AI, I think we're scratching the surface. It's probably maybe even less than 1% of what AI can bring to us as businesses, but also as a society. I think it's mainly driven by customer needs. And at the end of the day, the people that we are selling our products and services to are going to drive how they want to be serviced and in which way. I think a good example is, for instance, that we went from regular television to on-demand TV, with Netflix and all those apps that you have on your television. You can basically just on-demand select what you want to watch, and it will be fed back to you. So if you look at the demand that we're seeing from a customer perspective, is as much self-serve as possible. Not waiting for an agent to answer your question or to understand it and then have to look up in a system or in a repository what a possible answer could be, and they don't figure it out, you have to go to the next one, or a chatbot that has a decision tree, if this, then that, and you get annoyed. I think it's really an agent with a human touch that acts and behaves like a human being, but can immediately solve your problems, and you can just simply self-serve without actually having to go through the whole drill down. So I think self-service is going to be one of those essential deliveries towards the future for any company. I just want to touch on the point that a gentleman just made there from Bunk. I'm actually a customer of yours. And speaking about self-serve, we need to have a chat. No, but that's definitely one of the key drivers.
Great. Okay, I would like, Jens, from you are not just a founder, but you're also somebody who's building a product for a lot of entrepreneurs who are using your APIs to build AI capabilities. Mm-hmm. What do you see in the crystal ball? How are people looking at it? Where do you see it going when it comes to customer experience and AI and software as a service?
Yeah, people want to go away from these chatty interfaces, which are like pulling out tons of text and nobody wants to read this. So that's a little bit one thing which we see, because like it should be really purposeful. Is like this thing of like looking at customer experience first and then work your way backwards to the technology, like Steve Jobs said, right, back in the days. But it's still true today. We should not just think like, oh, we have this awesome technology now, let's just plug it in everywhere and just use it, have a chatbot as a default interface. Because a lot of times people say like, no, this is actually for this particular application, it doesn't work. So there should be potentially more like agents, tool calling, function calling, getting data from third parties and all this kind of stuff, and not really giving out anything in terms of explaining what it does, right? Because if you have a very kind of like single purpose application, you still want to use it in a similar way efficiently as you use it today, partially. But you just want to have the augmentation from the agent or from the AI. And that's a little bit the thing with the user interfaces. So a lot of times like we see applications, and we have done the same thing. We have done the same mistakes ourselves. Oh, this awesome technology, we also want to have it and build it into our platform. So just let's plug in ChatGPT or one of the other models, right? And while this is cool, like for like 10 minutes or maybe even like a couple of days, at some point in time, it gets old. I mean, it gets old pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. And then people say like, that's nice, but it's not really useful. So it feels very gimmicky. Yeah. And if it becomes a gimmick and it doesn't serve the customer and the user, then it's in our mind it's useless. So we had a lot of discussions about that with our clients, and they, for example, a lot of times wanted to have interfaces where you don't see AI at all, although it's in the background. And it's doing stuff, and it's automating things. Sometimes you have to potentially just mark it this was AI generated or something, so that people understand, okay, it might have mistakes. But that's the other part which will change, I think, because people are looking more for the RAG approach. They're looking for what you have presented with DevRef as well. We want to have like solid, predictable results. We don't want to have hallucination as we get today, like crazy. And because especially in the business world, the B2B world, for them, most customers, they say, when it just doesn't work 1 out of 10 times, they already say it's useless. It doesn't work. But you say, yeah, but it worked 90% of the times. But yeah, okay, but if it doesn't work this one time, it's not good. So that's a little bit, especially in Germany, to be fair, like we are a little bit more risk averse when it comes to that. So it's always like, I'm not sure if this is really working. And bigger companies like the VWs of the world and stuff, they want to really have this bulletproof solution, which because it's also a compliance topic and a regular topic, and you need to really make sure that this is solved. So while this is cool for some gimmicky apps sometimes, it doesn't work like this in the business world. So we have to be much more strict and rigid when it comes to the interfaces and the results that we are producing.
Great. Yeah, I 100% agree. I think the most important thing about the customer experience is that it's transparent to the customer.
Yeah.
They don't have to keep guessing whether this is AI or not AI.
Exactly.
That's the best experience possible. Okay, we have run out of time, so I want to end definitely it in a good note. So maybe what we can talk about is one of the success stories. So Darja, maybe I'll ask you this question. Maybe in Along or maybe in somewhere you've seen something that, from your perspective, wow, this is like the bee's knees, right? This is amazing when it comes to customer experience. Is there something that you would like to share?
I would first start with HubSpot, because I was building a whole HubSpot setup. And when you're in a startup, you can't hire a consultant because you just don't have the budget for it. So I started to, so my personal consultant was ChatGPT at first. But then I was facing some other challenges and used the HubSpot support. And usually when you contact the HubSpot support, you wait 3 days or so. But with their AI integration, you get really real-time answers, and not really frustrating answers when you call your phone provider, like Vodafone, and you got some more great health after it. But it really helped me to work more efficient on my HubSpot setup. And another example from Along is we're using AI in our tool to recognize customer or prospect behavior. What does it mean? So if you think about a sales process, right? Most of the time, the buyer spends without you. All the decision making, all the internal discussion, it happens without you. It's a black box. We're making this black box transparent, nothing new. A lot of companies do this. But with an AI, we're doing pattern recognition. What it helps is also to reduce ramp-up time for new sales reps, for new CS reps, until 30%. Why? Because they're following a pattern, they're following a structure. Very logical, kind of like engineering. So yeah, that's 2 success stories.
Thank you. That's a great way to end the panel. But before we go, any questions from the audience? Anything that we haven't covered? Would you like us to cover? Any questions for us?
I wanted to ask Jens, you said that customers are leaning towards not willing to see this chat interface in the product. I wanted to ask the other guys on that side, do they see the same pattern as well, where the customers are oh, again, this chat, even if it's an AI powered, I don't want to see it, I want to do something else. Have you seen that?
Well, I definitely have, but it has to do with previous bad experiences with typical chatbots, that go through the decision tree. So absolutely. But at the same time, I also see the good side of things when people are actually interacting with agentic AI, with human augmentation that's actually capable of fixing their problems really fast. And then they start seeing the benefit of a human agent that's being supplemented or being replaced by an AI agent that's taking away those mundane tasks and repetitive questions. So I think you know, as AI advances and more consumers get used to the idea and start having positive outcomes instead of the glitches that we had in the past, I think that will only improve.
I think I can also add here what Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, said SaaS is dead. What he actually meant in another podcast, he really went in deep in that. He says like this old architectural layers of building any sort of user interfaces add like these three architectural layers, a presentation layer, a data layer, and also a business logic layer. Now he thinks that there's a new layer, an agentic layer, an AI layer. So the interfaces could be morphing itself to the user's perspective. It could be a chat interface, or it could be a voice interface, or it could be a graphical interface. Perhaps, as you, Jens, said, like maybe it is marked that it is generated by AI, but the inputs, the drop-downs, the boxes, because we had ARIA standards for making sure that we create our input boxes and radio buttons and buttons clickable that is used by blind people. In the same way, the user interfaces will morph itself, that perhaps for Gen Z there will be one sort of UI generated, and for an elderly maybe it's a voice, and for mid-age maybe it's a text. It may morph, but the same backend and the same multi-tier architectural layer, as Satya Nadella mentions, will stay the same in the back, but on the front side, it will morph itself and change as and when users interact with it.
Yeah, I just want to add, depending on the context, there could also be a video interface. It's not required for everything, but for example, we have a coach, right? And a coach is not just looking at your text or what you're conveying, but also how you're conveying it and also the emotions attached to it. So it's not just hearing you or just reading your text, but it's also looking at how you're reacting to certain things. It's still too early in terms of capabilities to really build that because it's computationally very intensive, but I see that in the next few years, it's going to change dramatically. So yes, the user paradigms will definitely shift. It's just a matter of time.
Can I just mention one more thing?
Please.
You know what's really interesting also about today and probably also in the days to come at CCW is that we're really focused on the topic of AI, but at the same time we have to realize that there will be a moment in time when we will abstract away AI and that it's only about the outcome, and AI is one of the vehicles that provides the outcome, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody today is saying, hey, I use the internet, right? I mean, it's a given, right? But back then it was the biggest revolution in IT. So I think it's a temporary thing. At the end of the day, we're just going to look at outcomes, and whatever provided it, it's part of the stack.
100%. That's exactly what Jens said as well. Because in the end, it has to be transparent to the user. The user doesn't care whether it's AI. The user cares about the experience. Absolutely, 100%. Please.
At least a year or two ago, there was this engineering topic about not just like agents, agentic AI, but teams of agents, right? So you have like a team of virtual agents that you give them a problem, there's like a manager, there's like an analyst, whatever, they talk to each other, and then the idea was that out of this team, better results will come than like if there's a single agent if you give the task. Did this go anywhere? Does this still look like a promising direction for future, or is it like a dead end and there's no benefit to that?
Yeah. You're looking at me. Do you want me to answer? So yes, there is a project called Crew AI. It's a Python framework that allows you to build crews of AIs. It's a very new project, like literally in October 2023 it started. It blew the internet, 29,000 stars on GitHub, and all really cool AIs can be built with that, with the concept of crews. Like imagine you hire a crew of AIs that is built based on an hierarchy. You have certain AI agents that are good in content writing, certain AI agents that are good in proofreading. And then there's a boss AI agent that delegates. And then there's another AI agent that basically could run a reasoning model a little bit more expensive, a little bit slower, that basically checks the entire outcome. I know someone who's building 24 projects simultaneously. His name is John Rush. And he built this AI agent called SEO Bot, world's #1 AI agent. What it does is it basically generates a blog post for you. And 2-3 months ago, he launched it. And now almost a lot of pioneers who are good blog writers, they're using it and they're backing it. And the way that is done with SEO Bot, it's also with the same crew concept. So it's not just one AI agent that takes responsibility, but it's like 100 different AI agents that take part in doing SEO research, keyword research. And then once it is written, and then it reevaluates the entire article. And then it puts it back, and then it does citation and so on. So it's a crew of AI agents. And he built it for like 2 years. It was not like an overnight success, but he worked on it for 2 years, launched at once, and then it cracked into it.
Pretty much, sorry, go ahead.
There's just one thing which is interesting in that whole topic of agent is the supervision of agents, because there's like this thing. I have a friend who built a company. They also like have agents being first citizens in the platform, but the customers really want to be able to supervise these agents, to tell them like, let's say someone is appointed as a manager, and only this person is allowed to train the agent or give feedback or say like, hey, you did this well or you didn't do this well and stuff. So that's a whole kind of opens up a new thing, like managing agents basically, and how to manage them, how to supervise them. And that's quite an interesting topic, which I don't know where it's going, but I feel that because everyone is working on that stuff, it's not a dead end. I think it's really just starting.
Yeah. Pretty much most commercial implementations of complex agents are multiple sets of agents. And the reason is one, exactly what you mentioned, because there's a lot of tools and then you just need to use the most optimized tools. There's another reason, and the reason is to limit the number of errors. So while I can just say that, look, this agent works accurately 95% of the time, and that might sound amazing, keep in mind that the tasks are multi-steps, right? So even if it works 95% of the time, if it has 5 steps and each of those steps works at 95% of the time, the accuracy reduces 0.95 raised to 5, right? That's about 70%. If there's 10 steps, it actually falls down to 50%, right? So this is unacceptable. And this is why you have highly specialized agents which takes care of each individual part. So it's a classic case. It's nothing new in terms of architecture. Microservices has been there for a long time, right? So in a way that I see this as like composable microservices just coming in as agents. I know we are really out of time. Chris is getting impatient. So thanks everyone for the questions, but we have some time for. Go ahead.
Yes. So first of all, thank you so much for this really engaging discussion. I think it was not just a panel. Pretty much everyone joined it. And the good thing is, we don't have to end this here. There's still a lot of open topics. We have the whole evening, dinner and drinks, when we can keep this conversation going. We have one more session with Christo and Drivis. But before that, I want to announce the fact that it's Aemal's birthday today. Turning 18 today.
Actually, 19. By the way, my wife is there, so it's okay. I don't have a problem with my age now.
Same day as Steve Jobs. Huh?
Yeah, same day as Steve Jobs. Today is also Steve Jobs' birthday. We only share the birthdays, not similar bank accounts.
Yet.
Not yet.
Yes.
Yes, let's do that. Shall we?
Oh, thank you.
Or should we do it after a drink?
Yeah.
Then it's a real thing.
That will give us the required energy and motivation. So, but thank you so much again. It was lovely, and let's continue the conversation over drinks and dinner.
Thanks everyone. Thank you.